NYPD officers will have to record race of people they question under new police transparency law. Could Ohio be the next state to use nitrogen gas in executions? A new method would end a 5-year halt. Hours of additional video show what officers did and said after fatal beating of Tyre Nichols. Today is Wednesday, January 31st, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. NYPD officers will have to record the race of people they question under new police transparency law. The New York City Council on Tuesday overrode Mayor Eric Adams's veto of a bill to require police officers to document basic information whenever they question someone. The issue was thrust into the national spotlight last weekend when NYPD officers pulled over a black lawmaker without giving him a reason. Adams argues that requiring officers to document low-level stops is too time-consuming. Council members say the reports aren't onerous and would take less than a minute to complete. Ohio's Republican Attorney General is backing a legislative effort that would bring nitrogen gas executions to the state to end a years-long unofficial moratorium on the death penalty. The state joins a growing list considering nitrogen gas use for executions. Attorney General Dave Yost made remarks in a news conference Tuesday about a bill sponsored by Republican state reps Brian Stewart and Phil Plummer. It would require that the nitrogen hypoxia method pioneered in Alabama Thursday be used in cases where lethal injection drugs are not available. Ohio's last execution was in 2018. Republican Gov. Mike DeWine has since paused the process due to court rulings and unavailability of the necessary drugs. The city of Memphis, Tennessee has released about 21 more hours of video and audio in the case of 5 former police officers charged with the violent beating and death of Tyre Nichols. The recordings were released Tuesday based on a judge's order from November, when former officer Desmond Mills Jr. pleaded guilty to federal charges. The case sparked outrage and intensified calls for police reform. Nichols died in a hospital on Jan 10, 2023, 3 days after he was kicked, punched, and hit with a police baton after a traffic stop. Police video released weeks after the killing showed the beating. All 5 officers were fired and charged with civil rights violations. Hunter Biden has again asked a judge to dismiss the federal gun case against him, arguing it is politically motivated and key evidence was tested after charges were filed. Hunter Biden's defense attorney says in court documents that cocaine residue found on the pouch the president's son used to hold his gun was only identified last year after he was indicted. They argue the timeline indicates prosecutors sought to bolster a selective prosecution. Prosecutors have denied any political motivation. Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty to lying about his drug use when he bought a gun in October 2018. He is also facing tax charges in Los Angeles. Residents of an East Arkansas town have been without running water for the past 2 weeks after the state was hit by below-freezing temperatures. The outage in Helena West. Helena, located along the Mississippi River, has forced residents to line up for bottled water, fill up jugs, or take showers at a truck brought in by the state. The outage is affecting about 1,400 people and is the second in the past year for the small town. The town faced a similar crisis last summer. Workers are racing to fix leaks, but officials say longer-term repairs are needed for the aging system. Floridians could soon be able to kill bears threatening them on their property with no consequences if they don't bait or provoke them first, or turn them into a meal or a living room rug later. A measure approved in its final House committee stop Tuesday would allow people without a hunting permit to use fatal force against a bear that's threatening a human, a pet, or a home. It's a bill introduced because of a growing number of encounters between people and the large mammals, but one that has bear lovers upset. A similar bill is moving through the Senate. Shock and grief are rippling across Georgia after the U.S. Defense Department announced 3 Army Reserve soldiers from the state were killed in a weekend drone strike in Jordan. Those killed were identified Monday as Sergeant William Jerome Rivers of Carrollton, Specialist Kennedy Sanders of Waycross, and Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffett of Savannah. The parents of the 24-year-old Sanders said she joined the Army Reserve about 5 years ago and voluntarily deployed to the Middle East. Moffett's mother said through tears she hopes no other family has to go through what she just did. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp issued a statement of mourning, calling the deaths an inexcusable loss of life. House Republicans have taken a party-line vote toward impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over what they say is his willful and systematic refusal to enforce immigration laws. The Homeland Security Committee voted early Wednesday to recommend the 2 articles of impeachment to the full House. But Mayorkas has been meeting with senators on a border security package and argues the Republicans should instead be working with the Biden administration on U.S.-Mexico border issues. Democrats deride the proceedings as a sham ordered up by Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump for the 2024 election. The full House could vote on the impeachment as soon as next week. Former U.S. Senator Jean Carnahan, who became the first female senator to represent Missouri when she was appointed to replace her husband following his death, has died at age 90. Carnahan was appointed to the Senate in 2001 after the posthumous election of her husband, Gov. Mel Carnahan, and she served until 2002. Her family did not specify the cause of death, but said Carnahan died after a brief illness. A judge has ruled that a Minnesota state trooper accused in the fatal shooting of motorist Ricky Cobb can remain free without bail. The judge on Monday ordered Trooper Ryan Londrigan to surrender his passport and avoid contact with witnesses and Cobb's relatives. The hearing was the first since Londrigan was charged Wednesday with second-degree unintentional murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree manslaughter in the death of Cobb, a 33-year-old black man. The shooting happened in Minneapolis, where the murder of George Floyd by police nearly 4 years ago sparked global protests. Relatives of Cobb say he deserves justice. Supporters of Londrigan say he was acting to protect himself and a fellow trooper. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the U.S. News for Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.